You want to hear aging, alchemy, dreaming, and relax and allow is probably, that's good. Yeah, relax and allow has an important, the mathematical formula in the second, the allow part. That's pretty interesting. And that leads to the formula, the 4x formula. So, what was I looking up? Oh, I was looking up what you found. Okay, we don't need to do that. Okay, so here we are, 12 o'clock. We've been going on for over an hour. And now we come to the album, The Grand Wazoo. And let's just get maybe the wiki statistics on it. So Zappa has been thrown off the stage, almost killed, and he decides to do a jazz rock kind of new kind of music, and he's not going to do the blatant rock anymore for a while. So he's changed his image completely. So it says, The Grand Wazoo is a 1972 jazz fusion album by Frank Zappa and the Mothers, composed and recorded during Zappa's period of convalescence following his assault in London. The album, along with its predecessor album, Waka Jawaka, I bought them in the reverse order. That's July 72. That came out, and then I think the Grand Wazoo came out second. But in my experience, I got Grand Wazoo first. The predecessor album, Waka Jawaka, represents Zappa's foray into big band fusion, the logical progression from Hot Rats, 1969, which used a much smaller lineup. The album, Grand Wazoo, was the last release on Zappa's Bizarre Records label. This was official release number 16.
But I think it marks an important point because, I mean, he almost died. And I suppose that must have been...
That would be a tragedy.
Him and
so you know what he's doing?
It's why the Masons do this type of symbolic killing, to make you reflect about many things.
Right.
What is important, transcendental, and all these things. So he sort of had the experience.
Yeah, so look at this.
And then
this is 1972. Watergate happens in May 72. And it's in the news, but it's not a big story yet, I don't think, because Mae Brussel wrote the article on it, and then that started to draw people's attention to it because she connected the people involved in the Watergate, the plumbers, back to Kennedy assassinations and all kinds of other historical conniving in the 60s. So her essay, funded by John Lennon and Yoko Ono, Zappa might be... That's when the American culture started looking at conspiracy at different points during the Watergate unfolding over the next 3 years. Zappa picked up on it. This may be why he did this, because it was in the popular consciousness to start looking at who's behind the scenes. Let's see if there's anything else.
And I think that was the first big scandal involving an American president. Like, how can this be?
Yes. Right. And then it's a big band. Now, the big band is the 30s. And that's when there still was top-down conspiracy possibilities. You know, it wasn't an information global theater world yet. So it's he may have made this in big band only to illustrate the topic was from that era. Didn't apply to the Elvis or 60s era. There's a new idea. This type of music, it's like what I do. I got on my chart, I've got McLuhan, and I have dates for what he's a replay of. He's a replay of 1900 to 1918, which is the Wyndham Lewis period. And I have certain... ratios of senses in the far right column. So Zappa says, okay, the people are starting to go back to World War II consciousness. Time to get the big band out. Like he was responding to sociological and fads, sociological events and fads. It says, The instrumental makeup of the Grand Wazoo is a big band. Is big band. It was the third album released in a period where Zappa used a wheelchair and was unable to tour after being assaulted and pushed off stage into an orchestra pit during a London concert. The Grand Wazoo consisted largely of instrumental pieces, similar to three of Zappa's previous albums, Hot Rats, Burnt Weenie Sandwich, and Waka Jawaka. In this same period, in analog recording, the number of tracks available was expanding. Hot Rats had been released a few years prior to the Grand Wazoo and was recorded on one of the first 16-track tape machines. It featured multiple tracks of clarinets, flutes, saxophones, piano, and organ parts played by a single musician, Ian Underwood. At the time of the Grand Wazoo, the compositions were arranged for large ensembles, which were conceived as studio recording vehicles rather than live touring bands. Zappa was also producer and principal composer for Jean-Luc Ponty's album King Kong during this period. Then it goes into, well, not too much. It says, Eat That Question. And in my interview with Zappa, he says it was originally Eat That Christian. But it got changed to Eat That Question. Features George Duke's piano playing and the recording of the Fender Rhodes electric piano in a novel way. Most recordings of the instrument prior to Eat That Question were not of comparable sonic quality or production value as Duke's performance on the piece. The track is a vehicle for George Duke's electric piano and begins with a rubato intro followed by the entrance of the full rhythm section in time. On this and several other tracks, Zappa plays a flat-top acoustic electric guitar using a wah-wah pedal and a Maestro phase shifter or Leslie speaker for a chorale effect. The Barkus-Berry transducer used was at the time a novel way of amplifying the instrument instead of using a traditional magnetic guitar pickup. The Zappa Plays Zappa band, led by Dweezil Zappa, the eldest son of Frank Zappa, tours since 2006. Regularly his tours have featured Eat That Question, with the song serving as a vehicle for both keyboard and guitar solos. They also incorporated Blessed Release, another song, usually introduced by Dweezil as an underappreciated Zappa composition. So let's read the story. This is what's on the album sleeve. Uncle Meat. Now, in Grand Wazoo, as soon as I see the word Uncle Meat, he's in the Uncle Meat album. We read his story. He's the government scientist that's laid off. So Frank goes back to him. Uncle Meat is in the basement. Oh, let's make this larger. Uncle Meat is in the basement of a secret laboratory. So there's Frank talking about himself. The lights are dim. All around the basement, mysterious wires and cables dangle over, out of, around, and through an unlikely collection of dust-covered desks, trunks, umbrella stands, and a huge maroon sofa, terminating in a fake maple bookcase like you might get if you ordered the whole Collier's Encyclopedia at one time. So that's like Ion's over, under, every way the rabbit could fuck a stump. Cables dangle over, out of, around, and through an unlikely collection of dust-covered desks, trunks, and umbrella stands. Then it says, Stu, which is Uncle Meat's first name, and you have this whole thing about Studebaker Hawk, who's a FBI guy, government intelligence. Is that a different version of Uncle Meat? I never thought of that before. Stu, which is Uncle Meat's first name, crouches malignantly near the bookcase, fumbling through a stack of books, records, newspaper clippings, religious pamphlets, and campaign buttons. That's Frank, looking for materials, just looking at the garbage of his L.A. environment. He applies light friction to the rash on his throat, muttering, Yes, it's all here, every bit of it. Everything I need to create my greatest masterpiece," unquote. Excitedly stuffing the whole bundle into the topmost empty shelf of the bookcase, Stu, or Uncle Meat, dodges swiftly to the desk, applies his protective green visor and garden gloves, laughs his special pseudo-scientific laugh, and jerks vigorously on the handle of that big electrical switch he uses all the time.
There we need all the sound effects.
Yes, yeah.
Do a laugh.
All right, you do it. But the big switch, that was in Uncle Meat. the big switch out in the desert. As you might expect, big sparks poot out of everything, and the overhead bulb blinks on and off. A filtered shell. Thank you. Very good. Yes. A filtered cello section goes dun dun dun. You know that cliche. Dun dun dun. That's Joe Dun Sloan. D-cell. Dun dun dun. Joe Dun Sloan. Right there. D-U-N-N. You can see it. Only I see Joe Dun Sloan in there. And that's when we were hanging out with him. But you can't hear it. The filtered cello section goes dun dun dun, but you can't hear it because the sound effects are too loud, I guess, of the environmental sparks. When he turns the switch off, all the sparks stop, and all the noise stops, and the books and pamphlets, etc., have vanished. Uh-oh, he's gone to another world.
Oh.
Yeah, if they vanish, he's gone to a different place.
The Ascended Mason.
Yes, aha, Stu, Uncle Meat. In their place, outside the lab, not more than 5 furlongs distance, is a life-size, minutely detailed, historically inaccurate, somewhat perverted, illusionary replica of ancient Rome or something. There's your hologram. When he turns the switch off, all the sparks stop and all the noise stops, and the books and pamphlets, etc., have vanished. In their place, outside the lab, not more than 5 furlongs distant, is a life-size, minutely detailed, historically inaccurate, somewhat perverted, illusionary replica of ancient Rome or something.
You see, that proves he was initiated. He knows about parallel worlds.
Yeah. The ruler of this illusion is Cletus Auritus Auritus. That's A-W-R-E-E-T-U-S, Auritus. And then Auritus, A-W-R-I-G-H-T-U-S. Cletus Auritus Auritus, the funky emperor. Cletus has a fantastic army of unemployed musicians. That would be Zappa. Him and the army run the place when they're not out fighting the war with the illusionary arch-villain Mediocrities of Pedestrian. Mediocrities of Pedestrian. The illusionary arch-villain. That's the frame-up that came up out of Watergate, that the left and right were run by a higher committee. Most of the Hells Angels were FBI agents out to terrorize the population. So they run the Rome when they're not out fighting the war with the illusionary arch-villain. Mediocrities also has a fantastic army. These two armies punch out every week on Monday. I guess that they don't punch out of their job. They actually have a fight. The way he says it, these two armies punch out every week on Monday. Well, maybe they punch out and then have the fight. Well, let's see. Score of the weekly battle is posted on billboards, telephone pole flyers, spray-painted aqueducts, and store tables called the charts. That would be the billboard shape.
Oh!
Oh, the charts! Holy shit! Yeah, I forgot about that. The Battle of the Charts. Holy shit. But he's saying that this battle happens, and every week.
On Monday.
On Monday, spray-painted aqueducts, telephone pole flyers, billboards, store tablets, sorry. And stone tablets called the charts. There's the emerald tablets. That's what we were doing tonight. We were analyzing the emerald tablets through the chart a little bit and getting Ian's take on the Illuminati. So what is he? Telephone pole flyers, spray-painted. Now that's usually
the results of the battle.
Yeah, and they are usually entertainment notices. This band is playing at that club, selling. So it's normal commerce. So commerce is the reflection of a battle, a secret war. And McLuhan has that in Understanding Media. He says, business is a battlefield, and he cites a newspaper article. So Zappa's pointing out that war is taking place in peacetime over environments. Who's running what environment? And Cletus is no exception. Now, Zappa used to say that. Look, I got my own problems to deal with. He never went around saying he was happy and oblivious. He always said he had problems to work out. So this is autobiographical. Every emperor, funky or not, has problems to deal with, and Cletus is no exception. Aside from the long-drawn, doesn't say long-drawn out, just this long-drawn war, there is a problem of civic unrest. A grotesque cult of masochistic ascetic, that means, they don't participate in their senses much. A grotesque cult of masochistic ascetic fanatics who don't like music has sprung up in the catacombs beneath the emperor's very sauna bath. These people are called questions. So that's the Christians in the catacombs. But you've got they don't like music. Now that becomes a big deal in Joe's Garage 7 years later, how the Central Scrutinizer bans music. So what we have here is the masochistic ascetic fanatics won, and they took over the government, or took over Zappa's hologram. Cletus deals with them benevolently in the civic auditorium. After they are captured and held in abeyance for one while, and they misspelt it, they've got O-N, but I used to say that, well, I'll do that for about one while. I used to think that was so cool. One while.
Yes, it's the idea of no time.
Right, good point.
For a while.
Ooh. After they are captured and held in abeyance for one while, misspelled, so the most important word has no E on it. Isn't that the way it is for most people? They never get the shit. There's one thing that's important. Somebody made or Ion altered it. After they are captured and held in abeyance for one while, announcements are made to the rest of the public at large. That's some big words. Public at large, proclaiming a festival. Lewis says a lot about how festivals are oligarchically controlled for audience distraction. Then it says, the questions are stampeded into your usual dirt floor oval arena. I saw him, say a couple months before this was written, in September, in London at the Oval Hammersmith, I think they call it. So, he's putting Dobbs. That's where I saw this band, in Oval named arena. Uh-oh.
The Warriors.
It's becoming me again. War wound. Oh, no. Can't I go anywhere without it being about me?
The band of gladiators.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just looking up. What was I looking up? Hammersmith.
You were remembering.
Yeah,
the
Hammersmith.
Arena.
Is that Oval in London? Is that the Oval Arena? I actually have a list. I have a book in the other room of every Zappa concert. So we could go look the date. Actually, I looked it up about a year ago. Hammersmith is a district in West London. So I've got to put in stadium. Just a district. Okay, they have something called Hammersmith Apollo. It's an entertainment venue. Okay, so Oval. What are you guys doing?
I'm going to make a sandwich.
Okay, Oval.
Listening.
Stadium, London. The Oval. The Oval, currently
the Oval.
Yeah, it's a
Coliseum.
You know it?
No.
It says the International Cricket Ground at Kennington in the London Borough of Lambeth. I'm going to have to go in the other room and look it up. I won't do it right this minute. But it is interesting how, well, maybe I should get it done now, right? It can't be.
Yes.
This is the beginning of the Zanarchy.
The record.
Yeah. Is this the beginning of Bob's Zanarchy once again? In my mind, the word oval is in the title of the stage. And I went to it with a guy. I knew his girlfriend in Halifax, and we met them in the youth hostel at that point, and invited them to the Zappa thing. And I'm now a face buddy friend of his, and he's a very active Toronto theater writer, playwright, and he has a very active Facebook commentary. Unfortunately, I have to go into the garage, and I don't know if I want to do that. Let's just pretend it is, okay?
Okay.
I mean, I know I went to the Oval.
You say your magnitude.
Yes. Maybe I'll just Google the Oval Zappa, see if that comes up.
$1972?
Yeah. September.
There's something in Google.
You're doing it?
Yes. So Rock at the Oval,
yeah,
Kennington, September 16th, 1970. Yeah, okay.
It's called the Oval. That's the cricket match. Oh, man, it lists all the bands. I had to put up with all this fucking heavy metal or whatever they were, Quaalude bands. They weren't very good. I didn't like them all day long. So I've heard of Hawkwind, Jeff Beck. I wonder if that's Jeff Beck, Bogart, and Apogee. They were Vanilla Fudge. Linda Lewis, I don't know that man. Beagles, Sam Applepine Quiver, MC Kid Jensen. Well, it's amazing. Look, they got a poster there. And it's called At the Oval. See? And he's talking about a few months later, the questions are stampeded into the usual dirt floor oval arena. Hidden, a little nod to Bob and all that I taught him. Not in music. I wasn't very good at music. It says, it is at this point Cletus, in full regalia. Now, there's a song in Hot Rats, Peaches in Regalia. In full regalia, enters and speaks to the questions through an oversized, primitive, but effective megaphone. Now, and We're On for the Money is the chrome-plated megaphone of destiny, so there's the continuity of that. He speaks through an oversized, primitive, but effective megaphone known as the Grand Wazoo. So the Grand Wazoo is the megaphone. First he says, hi.
The amplification of the voice, that's the power.
Right. He's doing the electric age. He's doing the Hitler thing.
No, but that's the real power, the speaking.
Electrified. That's what the Nazis did. They had a public address system. So first he says, now remember he's doing the 40s, 30s, so that would fit, right? First he says, hi, cats and kittens, to which the audience responds, Auritus, 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 Cletus. Whereupon the emperor asks, quote, any of you folks sing, dance, or play a musical instrument, unquote. In some rare instances, a question or two will arise from the fanatics, remember they don't like music, and raise his or her hand to signify some repressed talent or interest in things of a musical nature. These reformed questions are permitted to leave the arena and join Cletus's army, which is in reality a big band. See, there it is. His army is a big band. That's Frank, the Grand Wazoo Band. Let's see. Instead of boot camp, the musician and his army, they get sent to work in one of the many beer-dispensing topless/bottomless nightclubs under the careful instruction of a sensitive, understanding club owner who will train them for the big stuff. Ever heard of a bottomless club? Topless, bottomless nightclub. Under the careful instruction of a sensitive, understanding club owner. So they get to go work in a club. The questions that don't answer the first time are given a second chance when a scantily clad nubile maiden dashes into their midst with gaily painted cardboard box containing spoons. And if they show some indication of natural rhythm in the use thereof, they are released and sent to Nashville. Having been as fair as possible to the prisoners, Cletus must now regretfully, so he's dealing with concentration camp victims. Having been as fair as possible to the prisoners, Cletus must now regretfully dispose of the ones who refuse to alter their unmusical ways. Bowing his head in official sadness, he gives the secret cue, that would be the hand signal, to the electric piano player in the pit orchestra, who cranks off a funky intro. At the conclusion of this, signified by the entrance of the drum set and electric guitars, and a procession of union reps, squealers, goons, and contractors, all tastefully dressed, tug mightily on the end of strain-resistant nylon hawser, which propels a disturbingly large radio flyer wagon into the center of the arena. Reading that again. At the conclusion of this, signified by the entrance of the drum set and electric guitars, and a procession, doesn't say and, at the conclusion of this, signified by the entrance of the drum set and electric guitars, a procession of union reps, squealers, goons, and contractors, all tastefully dressed. No, wait a minute. That's not the way you read it. Okay. At the conclusion of this, signified by the entrance of the drum set and electric guitars, a procession of union reps, squealers, goons, and contractors, all tastefully dressed, tug mightily on the end of strain-resistant nylon hawser, which propels a disturbingly large radio flyer wagon into the center of the arena. The wagon contains a giant aquarium sort of thing. See? Oral speech habits or rhythms into the alien written world. Who writes aquarium sort of thing? You're not allowed to fucking do that, man. You got to put a noun in, right? The wagon contains a giant aquarium sort of thing, in which we see writhing an impressive amount of capital U, capital D, capital T, in brackets, undifferentiated tissue. We see writhing, so the undifferentiated tissue is moving, it's alive. It's a symbolic accumulation of all the statistical errors and failed attempts of this empire's illusionary scientific community. So all this undifferentiated tissue is a symbolic accumulation of all the statistical errors and failed attempts of this empire's illusionary scientific community. The fetid tank is towed to within lethal proximity of the unmusicals. The Union people go away, as they always do, and after receiving a series of congratulations, awards, business cards, and fund donations, hold a board meeting off to the side. So the Union goes off and has their own award ceremony. The Union people go away, as they always do, and after receiving a series of congratulations, awards, business cards, and fund donations, hold a board meeting off to the side, where it is unanimously decided to provide an ultimate solution for the questions. See, more Nazi stuff. The solution itself is released when a high guitar twang shatters the glass of the undifferentiated tissue tank. The solution itself is released when a high guitar twang shatters the glass of the UDD tank. It burbles and fumes for a few moments, finally gulping all the questions down. But it just is finally gulping them all down. It burbles and fumes for a few moments, finally gulping them all down. A hush falls over the arena as the vapors dissipate, and the pit orchestra makes triumphal reprise of the opening figure. Those are words that Roxy would understand. The opening reprise, or the opening figure for the triumphal reprise. Is that what we heard when we played that song? Da 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 da.
Yes.
Run home slow.
Yes, I'm eating.
Oh, okay. You're eating your popcorn. Yes. Okay.
My sandwich.
Yes. So, triumphal reprise of the opening figure. After the fun of the arena, it's back to work as usual for Cletus. He returns to his regal chamber for a formal dinner with his staff. On his right, the ones that give him the support he needs. Erroneous, his bass player. Gregarious, his drummer. And Per Diem, his roadie. Or Per Diem. Well, how do you say that in business? Get a Per Diem. Per Diem. And Per Diem, his roadie. On his left, he keeps those other kind of people that tend to hang out with your average emperor. Trivia, a hot girl who likes to get flogged. Cretinus, the biographer. So there's a put down of David Wally. Cretinus, Nefarious, which was going on a year before. Nefarious, the guy with the long, stringy mustache who gives advice. Equilibrium, the pharmacist. Dysmenorrhea, the squirting female oracle. The squinting female oracle. Squirting, the squinting female oracle. Photon, the lighting director, and so forth down the table. That's a nice pun, eh? All right. Each week at the same point in the dinner ceremony, just before they serve the oiled pessaries, an exhausted runner crashes through the doors, falls to his knees before the emperor and wheezes, quote, "They're coming, quickly, we'll be surrounded," unquote. The runner is then revived. He always blacks out right then, but is revived with a transistor radio tuned to Wolfman Jack. Now, I met Wolfman Jack in the summer of 72. Did I tell that to Frank? Did he put this in because he was thinking of my wonderful summer experience with Wolfman Jack at a tiny grade school? It was like people in grade 6.
Yes. Let's say you did.
Yes, I did. Frank is referring to recent events in Bob's life. This is Bob. I'm the fucking emperor. Of course it has to be about me. Frank knew. Wow. Where was I back then? I was so fucked up, I didn't even notice it. What? Another album about me, Frank? Come on. And raise my rates. The runner is then revived. Now, just before I read the word runner, I said whatever the sentence before, I thought of runners. Because I was talking to somebody about that today. So even my reading of it is fucking pre-anticipated by Frank. My thoughts. I think a thought before the next paragraph, and then the fucking thought shows up in the paragraph. Tell me I'm not living the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The bardos are being me as soon as I fucking utter myself.
I am saying you live ahead of you.
Yes. So I make everything line up because I'm not here. I'm over there. You're hearing a guy talk who's a puppet. I'm a puppet of myself. Isn't it fun? You get into this Zappa stuff, man, and you find all kinds of incredible, who knows? We never anticipated this. I never knew this fucking thing was about me. The runner is then revived. He always blacks out right then with a transistor radio tuned to Wolfman Jack. Once his consciousness has been regained, guards remove him to another area where he's pumped and waxed for further information. See, there's the torture chamber. That's what I do. I fucking did all this shit. This is solar government expose. Jeez. We try to do a serious scholarly fucking Zappa thing. We end up fucking in the same goddamn place where joking about Bob's life. I mean, this is getting stupid. Anyways, I'll like it, though.
It's a day in the life of the parallel world emperor.
Yeah, the parallel emperor. Cletus immediately calls his service, his answer machine, or whatever they call it, the people who take your calls. Instructions are given. It must mean instructions. Instructions are given for Ben-Hur Barrett. I think he's one of the band members in the Grand Wazoo. Instructions are given for Ben-Hur Barrett to contract the whole army, in brackets, if Motown will let him take any outside jobs, this being perhaps the most outside job he can get. So again, talking about himself and me, right? Takes a heavy Motown guy, if Motown will let him take any outside jobs. He'll contract the whole army. The combined forces of the Army Auritas, that's what's called, the Army Auritas, include 5,000 brass players assorted, which is the Air Force. 5,000 drummers assorted, which is the artillery. 5,000 players of electric instruments assorted, which is the chemical, biological, psychological warfare section. That gets into AIDS. And 5,000 guys, and of course the AIDS guy that he uses in his last book, in his autobiography, on the last page, he uses information I gave him, which happens in 71, 72, right in this period. But I didn't tell him that then, I don't think. And 5,000 guys with masonite boards strapped on their chests, each one firmly grasping half a coconut shell in either hand, which they pummel rhythmically on the board. This is the cavalry. Cletus leads them into battle with his gleaming mystery horn. Many believe this instrument to be nothing more than a C melody saxophone borrowed from Jackie Kelso. Now, Ian told us the C was an important horn, right? Wasn't it like the...
Yes, and also that was the note that was heard with the gravitational waves. They heard the C.
The gravitational what?
The gravitational waves.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Jackie Kelso, better known by his stage name, Jackie Kelso. What? Oh, his name is John Kelso. Was an American jazz saxophonist, flautist, and clarinetist. So we're reading... Wait a minute. So it has a reference to Jackie Kelso. The instrument was borrowed from him. I'm going to reread the Army setup again. The combined forces of the Army Auritas include 5,000 brass players assorted, which is the Air Force, 5,000 drummers assorted, which is the artillery, 5,000 players of electric instruments assorted, which is the chemical, biological, psychological warfare section. So you've got brass, that's lofty, like Air Force stuff. Drummers would be the artillery, and then the electric instruments are squealing chemical, biological warfare, psychological warfare. Did you say something, Roxy?
Yeah, that's psychological warfare.
Yes, music, psychological warfare, electric music. And 5,000 guys with masonite boards strapped on their chests, each one firmly grasping half a coconut shell in either hand, which they pummel rhythmically on the board. This is the cavalry. Cletus leads them into battle with his gleaming mystery horn. Many believe, in brackets, many believe this instrument to be nothing more than a C melody saxophone borrowed from Jackie Kelso. Jackie Kelso died in 2012. The enemy army of mediocrities of pedestrium, known as the MOP, M-O-P, M.O.P. the MOP, that's the Mothers of Prevention. When he does the Washington thing, 10, 12 years later, he has an album, it's called The Mothers of Prevention, where he makes fun of all the offenders' wives in the Rock Censorship Committee. That's interesting. The MOP anticipates that. Mediocrities of pedestrian. The enemy army of mediocrities of pedestrian, known as the MOP, has similar sections except for a new platoon of sinister mercenaries called the string section, or alternately the sweetener. The main difference between the two armies, however, is the MOP is heavy on vocals. So Zappa is not heavy on vocals. And he's talking about his experience of working with symphony orchestras. He's already having, remember, with that guy in May 1970, we played in the gymnasium. He has trouble with, interest, getting these guys supposedly hired to play for you. They're not really interested in your work. So he's calling them sinister mercenaries, the string section. The MOP has 5,000 dynamic male vocalists in tuxedos who stand in the middle of the road, loosen their bow ties, and arch one eyebrow. Okay, now he always used to arch his eyebrow. So he was doing the vocalists. Hadn't thought of that before. 5,000 dynamic male vocalists with fringe smocks, tunics, jumpers, and nudie shirts. What was that? He has 5,000 dynamic male... Oh, the clothing is what's different. 5,000 dynamic male vocalists in tuxedos. 5,000 dynamic male vocalists with fringe smocks, tunics, jumpers, and nudie shirts. 5,000 dynamic but carefully understated male vocalists in old Levi clothes who cry, sulk, whimper, and play harmonica. So he's talking about the regular radio content. Plus 5,000 more dynamic performers of indeterminate sex who can't sing at all, but dance good and do hot moves with the mic wire. So there's your entertainment, your military entertainment industrial complex. What is it? Military industrial entertainment complex. And Zappa has to deal with this in Los Angeles. He's describing the world of Los Angeles, right? All the showbiz music going on that he finds irritating.
Well, he was in a battle.
In a battle.
Thing.
So he's battling. he's battling the vocal stuff. That's why his vocal lyrics are so ridiculous. But then below the ridiculousness, they're scientifically programmed to tell Bob knowledge. But on the surface, they seem ridiculous. And he's not that interested in mainstream radio with too much emphasis on crying, sulking, whimpering, and playing harmonica. Now, all of this stuff...
Yes, it sounds exaggerated, but most songs are really like that.
Right. Now, you got here 5,000 in the Air Force, 5,000 in the Artillery, 5,000, that's 15, 20,000. 20,000 in that band, in Cletus's band. And this one had similar, but 5,000 male tuxedos, 5,000 Levy. He's listed with 20,000 too, mediocrities. But these are reinforced by 100,000 black girl backup singers. And you know what this would be? In Uncle Meat, he talks about using, invisible, subliminal sound harmonics and frequencies to do all kinds of things to people. This is like a huge battle of frequencies. Right? Huge battle of acoustic sonar stuff. These are reinforced by 100,000 black girl backup singers, assorted, who sway in a trained manner and get funky on command. As if that weren't enough, there's another 5,000 girl lead singers, many of which are so sensitive they're invisible, and the rest of which are so overwhelming they hurt your eyes whenever the light gets on them. Very sensitive singers. I'm sure Roxy put up with these fucking divas down there in the Mexico nightclub scene, right, Roxy? They drive you up the wall.
Wow.
You turn up to sing clavier whenever they started trying to take over the band, right? Did you experience did you have warfare against other bands? We have Bert. We have actually one of these fucking dupes of the music industry right with us now.
There is always like a big deal. Who is going to open? Who is going to be closing?
It's and so you witnessed that, right? How did you do? Did you win most of them? Lose most of them?
Well, I didn't really care, but for the other members of the band were like, no, we're not opening for that.
You were always indifferent. You didn't give a fuck about reality at all, did you?
Yeah, but I was like, hey, we can go earlier. It's okay.
This is funny. So you got 20,000 performers of different clothing and 100,000 black girl backup singers. Those are the ones that don't get the credit. We watched that movie. They're not the Wrecking Crew, but they're like 10. It's called 20 Steps from Stardom. They're the repeated. There's only 5 of them, and they're repeated, and every band's using them. And I played a excerpt, Leslie somebody or Leslie Lily. I played her leading Mick Jagger last week in the music thing. And there's a movie on these women that's pretty neat. And what happens to them, because they never make it big. They're just support, background, and they're really good at it. But it leads to other professions, just like Roxy. Roxy has become an important fixture in the Reichstag, working for the Nazis. I mean, she's right there where Hitler killed people. How does it look? Can you smell the blood, Roxy? Can you smell it? Or were we not supposed to talk about that? Is that top secret, Roxy?
Of course.
But it's all bullshit. She does not work for the Reichstag, people. I'm just making it up. Well, who would work for the Reichstag? There's no such fucking force anymore. It's long gone.
Yes, what were you saying about the backup singers?
Yes, let's quickly change the topic. As if that weren't enough, the 100,000, there's another 5,000 girl lead singers, many of which are so sensitive they're invisible, remember when I first read that, I found that quite clever. So sensitive, they're invisible. Oh, that Frank's a genius. And the rest of which are so overwhelming they hurt your eyes whenever the light gets on them. Does that mean they're not nice to look at?
Good. But it may be something else. They're real sensitive. Diva. Yeah, maybe the diva complex. He's
yeah, but they hurt your eyes. They hurt your eyes.
Oh, no.
They get lit up, and they hurt you. That sounds like ionic technology. Every Monday, the mop marches into Aretas country. Are you still here, Roxy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Are you eating?
No, I was thinking.
Well, let's hear your thoughts.
Which way this could hurt your eyes.
Yeah, they're invisible, and the rest of which are so overwhelming they hurt your eyes whenever the light gets on them. Every Monday, the mop, that's Mediocrity's gang, marches into Aretas country and lines up outside the main metropolitan area. By means of small but powerful portable transmitters, the combined forces of Mediocrities proceed to croon, strut, blither, and bloop a suspiciously accessible barrage of ditties into the airwaves in an attempt to anesthetize the decent townspeople into drooling submission. So there he is, complaining about Top 40 radio. Same theme from 6 years before, right? This is like a variation of Jericho. Now, when he talks in Uncle Meat about frequencies knocking down walls and things, that is what Jericho's technology was. Was that his name? The walls of Jericho came tumbling down. So he's replaying that image, archetype, which is how these things would be. See, in the Uncle Meat thing, he's talking about the potential warfare that can be done by sound waves. Now he has them doing it. Never realized that before. I haven't thought about it. My alibi is haven't read this in 20 or 30 years, so this is a continuation of the Uncle Meat story. It's what... Well, this was Stu. Where the fuck... Uncle fucking... Oh, so Stu is the big hand that makes this fake environment. Remember, you were talking about the fake hand that reaches in. That's Uncle Meat's hand. So he creates these little model battles. They line up outside the main metropolitan area by means of small but powerful portable transmitters. The combined forces of Mediocrities proceed to croon, strut, blither, and bloop a suspiciously accessible barrage of ditties into the airwaves in an attempt to anesthetize the decent townspeople into drooling submission. So what do you predict Cletus does? What's he going to do to beat that? He's up against a big sound frequency warfare. You know what he does? Cletus and the Army Aretas defend their turf by marching to a nearby hummock and playing a shuffle. They fucking do nothing. It's a Dobbs method. Do nothing. Relax and allow. Look, you go to a nearby hummock, that would be a little hill, and you play a shuffle? What would you? Two people could do that. He's got 20,000 people working for him. Frank has obviously gone off the deep end trying to figure out how to end the story. He couldn't end the story. He made up a ridiculous ending. His imagination broke. What is a shuffle? Is that a certain kind of rhythm?
I think it's you can play like a rhythm like very rhythmically, like tack 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 tack. But if you shuffle, it's like you
the sliding.
Sort of, give it like
you use brushes.
Yeah, like you don't do it like a robot, but you give it more
massage. I'm looking up the word shuffle, Japanese visual novel, but that has an explanation after it. Shuffle Along, The Lost History of Black Performance. Shuffle Along, music. And see what happens. He puts shuffle music in. Here's a YouTube, best shuffle music. But before we do that, how to shuffle all songs or genre in Apple Music. How to shuffle all your songs in Apple Music. That's something different, right?
Yeah. That's a function on the iPhone or the iPod.
Okay, look at this. You go to shuffle and they have a disambiguation. They've got in dance, shuffle is a tap dance, a type of footwork in tap dance. Or a shuffle step, a type of footwork in ballroom dance. The Melbourne Shuffle, a rave dance originating from Melbourne, Australia. And then there's a video game, music, different. So it is it's smoke and mirrors. So it's a dance, not playing an instrument. He fucking does a dance. Now, Frank, I think Dave Wally said that Frank couldn't dance, didn't dance, didn't like dancing, but when he was on a big TV show, and I think he was playing one of his songs, and he actually did a little dance, but it was like this little timid shuffle. So he acted out his own script. That's what we discovered here. He did a shuffle on Saturday Night Live or something. So that's the story, and it's never been so completed as I have just performed. We now know the meaning. It's Uncle Meat, 1969, Part 2.
That's the terrible situation of music.
Yeah, so Zappa, that means that Zappa, when he went on TV and had to do a little dance, he was being the army trying to dance off the million of singers that were happening. Millions of musicians. Like he was against the ear. Croker has a cassette he put out in the late 80s, and it's titled, "The Ear Must Be Destroyed." Frank was trying to destroy the ear, which is what Ian said to Ben Watson when Zappa came through. Zappa says, "Oh, shit, they like this?" And he would go and try to make something even worse. But he didn't make worse music. It got better and better. So, nobody knows what they're talking about when you're dealing with a quadraphonic artist. Okay, so we're going to now see what he says about all this stuff. Just taking a Downbeat interview, November 9th, 1972. He says, since the earliest... Now, do we want to... Okay, so talking about the Illuminati and the Freemasons, and how do we overlap this? What do we see here? He's showing that the new battle, this is like a McLuhan-esque point, the new battle isn't visual conditioning. It isn't visual signal so much. It's an acoustic battle for power. The Illuminati is involved in manipulating sound, sound environments. That's the audio tactile world of McLuhan. We come to the same conclusion again. That Zappa was an audio version of McLuhan.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, he has to write a liner notes, so what's he do? He takes the most important reality of the day, which is, McLuhan said, we live entirely by music. So we're living by music, so it has to be a battle in music, a battle of frequencies, and apparently I won. Cletus. It was half me and half Frank, right?
Cletus versus...
Not mediocritus. That's That's James Martinez or Matthew Hurtado or somebody like that. They go for the stupid mainstream singing. But now that I'm on the RNA drops, I like any kind of music, it seems. I've lost all discriminating ability.
Yes.
So earlier he was describing, I was Cletus, right? Then it became Frank. Isn't that right? Isn't that what happened? We were saying it was me for a while there.
Yeah, at the beginning.
Yeah, and then it started to become him. So Stu has Frank versus Bob in his hologram. And remember, I have that in my chart. I've got Rumpelstiltskin, but it is a Xenocronous chart based on Zappa's tiny or big note. And it says the grand... Does it say it says Decadence, but does it say Grand? It has Grand Wazoo in the title there, I think.
Yes.
Do you have my chart there?
Yes, I do. It says Xenocronous Bob's Tiny Note, the Grand Wazoo's Decade Dance.
Holy shit. And this has the word chart in it. The charts. I didn't even know. It was my chart versus his chart. It's the new song versus the old song. Are you stunned by this, Roxy? Are you dumbfounded? Trying to figure out... Are you still here? Oh, maybe she got disconnected. Wait, you're on my phone. Can't be disconnected. Maybe she's in the bathroom. Hey! I guess I'm going to have to try the phone again. I'll put on some music. I'm going to play something from the Grand Wazoo. Okay?
Yeah, eat that question if you can.
All right. Now, let's just check with Bill to see if he's asking me if I'm stopping the show. No, we can't. We're right in the middle of it. We're going to continue, it looks like, for another hour. Unless, yeah. Okay, so let's find some Zappa to play. Eat that question. Eat that question. 1972, 643, and then there's a short version in 1988. So we'll play that. So I got to bring up the. I have to open some things there. That question. I've got so many things on the wall here, I can't find my sound button. Like so many things downloaded. Here it is. Soundflower. Holy shit, man.
That was a big battle.
That was a big battle. You can hear it. Yes. He's attacking every...
Against the popular music that keeps people drooling.
Yeah.
Yeah, the temple was destroyed. We will build the temple again.
Please help! We'll liberate the temple. No, this.
Hello?
Up.
Well, you can't.
Are you still alive after the battle?
You guys.
Your phone's cracking and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, he's still being attacked by a frequency commando. Wow. He's still fighting.
And you're on Bob's line, though, correct, Roxana? Bob called you. Wow, but his phone is. You can hear him cracked a little.
He was trying to reconnect to the Skype because
yeah.
I updated, but then.
So how was Berlin? How's the vibe in Berlin?
Oh, now it's wonderful because it's springtime and it's sunny.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
Finally. Yes. We can finally work on it.
Uh-oh, Bob.
Like mediocrity. Hey, Commander! Magnitude! Yeah, he got lost.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually wanted to understand how these Masonic groups that were initiated to do this.
Just left the conference.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up that. You go ahead about how the Masonics organize themselves.
They turn against the monarchy of the church that gave them the knowledge and took over in the republic. And then, for example, Napoleon goes to Egypt and tries to retrieve all this knowledge of Moses, and then the Nazis prohibited Masonry. There is
so the Nazis did you say Nazis prohibited
against?
Yes. The Nazis prohibited. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes, because they were into the occult. They knew they had to fight democracies, mediocrities, kleptos.
Yeah, you should get that dreaming tape.
Yes, what is the dreaming tape about barreling world? Or
yeah, they talk about it. Yeah, Carolyn does the first part, and then Bob. I think Bob comes in at the end of Carolyn's session, but then Bob does a whole section on part B, which is really fascinating to listen to. But they talk about the Masons. There was one saying that said, "Have you been to the East and West and back again?" Which is their world travel. I remember that.
The magnitude is trying to come back, but
yes.
Hey guys, Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I forgot to flip the fucking thing back after getting Roxy. Can you hear me?
Yes. Still a little cracking, but we can hear you now.
Right. What happened is I went and got her, and then I forgot to remove the flash step back. I thought I did that, so I was in. I don't know why we could. But okay, so look, I heard what you were saying. We'll get back to that. I just want to say this. I already said it, and I thought you guys were hearing, but you didn't. The Roxy was.
Bob, you went out.
Bob, you've got some real bad line noise. It sounds like you've got a cable on your phone coming loose. Real bad static, and now you cut out completely.
Phone on another line. Bob Neverett.
Just left the conference.
Hello, is anyone else there?
Gene's the only other one on. Gene, I just unmuted you. I think Bob's going to get a different phone.
Okay, but thanks. Too much dead air. I'll read some Thompson.
Okay, Bob just sent me a message. He said to tell Roxy to hang up, but I don't see anybody on the board, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay, Bill. Thanks. I'll read some Thompson until he gets back. The idea that there is form on one hand and content on the other comes from a mentality we owe to literature. But technology is now our culture, and so McLuhan was right. The medium is the message. Our gadgets of TV, netbook computers, cell phones, Blackberries, and iPods are not instruments to express a culture. They are a culture. They are the culture. McLuhan also pointed out that each new technological extension is an amputation. If we have cars, we not walk to the corner store. Artificial intelligence, therefore, is part of an oft-noted American dumbing down process and has served to make humans less intelligent. I am old enough to remember a better educated high school culture and recall a time when Americans weren't so dumb as to make Sarah Palin the most successful nonfiction writer in publishing history. So it was natural as James Cameron's part to take a collection of movie cliches from Dances with Wolves and Star Wars, as well as other memes spliced in from the Hollywood gene pool that John David Elbert pointed out in his blog, cinema discourse, and used them as the basis for his technological tour de force, Avatar, which has become the greatest earning movie in history. Avatar's success, like Sarah Palin's, is owed to its superficiality. Even the addition of 3D could not hide the movie's lack of depth. With cliched plot and stock characters, Cameron was not making a film version of a novel, but another Western as a moral allegory of the military-industrial complex versus the Gaian tree huggers of the New Age. But like ivy vines on the legs of the iron legs of Victorian sewing machines, the moral allegory itself is yet another level of camouflage. The Great Spirit and the natives are the products of a computerized entertainment technology. Disney may have pioneered this territory in which the cute animatron figures of Disney World are controlled by an invisible technological complex. But the film Avatar, like Fantasia before it, is one of those works of popular culture that mark a transformation of the polity. Fantasia marked the end of the authority of high culture and used classical music and the poetry of Goethe as camouflage for the structure of pop culture's takeover. How many Americans now have ever heard of Goethe or realized that The Sorcerer's Apprentice is one of his poems? In Avatar, Cameron has persistently given us a description of the Obama administration and the Democratic Party. Although we, naive liberal progressives, thought we were voting for a change from a military-industrial complex of Bush and Cheney, Obama has proved himself to be his loyal avatar sent among us to win our trust and trick us out of our votes. Now, as president, he has not only reached across the aisle, but shifted sides as he first rescued the banks through Geithner and Summers, then rescued the medical insurance companies, and is now ignoring our mass unemployment, suffering, and economic stagnation to ask for gigabillions to shore up the military and to keep the imperial war machine going against the Islamist natives fighting the great Satan of Uncle Sam. In taking entertainment technology to the new level, Cameron has also persistently described the end of the university as a cultural authority. Once to be a scholar, you had to be part of the church. Later scholars could escape to an academe that they had become. Once to be a scholar, you had to be part of the church. Later scholars could escape to an academe that they had become its own high church. No, it's still wrong. Once to be a scholar, you had to be part of the church. Later scholars could escape to an academe that had become its own high church. Since World War II, the university has been a place for intellectuals to escape from the business world. But now business has taken over academe, and even the creative writing departments must conform to the corporate interests of the publishing and media industries, a complex in which Rupert Murdoch owns them all. Academic administrators are now managers from the entertainment industry. They see which majors are popular moneymakers and have begun to eliminate the losers of the humanities from the curriculum. Classics, philosophy, English, these are to be placed by programs in media and communication, Sarah Palin's major of choice. Retiring faculty are now replaced with Retiring faculty are now replaced with young professors, but are replaced by inexpensive temps who are paid for piecework without benefits and have to commute between several colleges to make enough to scrape out a meager living. Soon the middle management academia will eliminate faculty who have failed to turn themselves into celebrities by replacing them with Time Warner cable lecture series and Kindle downloaded textbooks, for which they will probably earn a percentage or a finder's fee for delivering the contract. Expensive sport complexes will continue to be built to inspire the business majors with corporate team spirit and the love of their alma mater. After all, the academic sports are the entertainment industry at its Saturday's best. After all, academic sports are the entertainment industry at its Saturday best, producing new athletes, superstars for future Super Bowls, and its theater for dazzling new corporate ads. In the near future, the ultimate entertainment of industry will not be to produce subversive avatars to infiltrate the native culture, but to offer a choice of temporary cultures for us to inhabit for the thrill of it. Reality TV will be passed up by the appropriation of reality otherwise known as politics, comfortable in our electronic couch. We can inhabit our cliches and call it America, the greatest show on earth. Bob, you back?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Make America gay again.
Okay, I wanted to, Bert, we heard songs. Eat That Question, a 6-minute version, then a 2-minute version, and then A Kid in His Arm for a third song. I was struck at how fucking powerful they were.
Yes.
And actually I heard...
they knocked us out.
And the battle. But I heard Roxy, you guys couldn't hear me for some reason, I heard her saying what I'm saying. But the thing I wanted to add is, I've been playing a lot of nice music at the beginning of the show, and not playing or hearing any Zappa for a couple of weeks. When I heard it again, I was so impressed with the power, and then also, he's attacking. He's doing music to attack people.
Yes. From the first note. The first note. Like a bomb.
Can you hear me, Bert?
Yes, I can hear you, Bob, but there's still some cracking and scratching going on.
Yeah, we might have to... Maui. I'm on the other phone, and it's still screwing up. Oh, now it's balanced. Yeah. Maybe it's going to cycle in and out. But, you're saying the very first note Zappa did was an aggressive note. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, right from the start, and then it was just like, boom. It's like your first description you described to me to Zappa, it's like a, what did you say? Like when you go to a concert, it's like a what did you say?
Another world.
Spaceship. Another world or a spaceship.
It's a UFO. Yeah, it's a UFO.
Yes.
It's in Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. You know, you're just seeing an amazing environment right in front of you.
Yes, the music has such a form compared to the other things one hears.
Sorry, take it out. We might have to stop this. We might end at the top of the hour and then take an hour break.
Maybe. You put some recording?
Yeah. I like to play what we heard. It was so good. I'd play it again. Something else. But Can you hear it? Can you hear us, Bert?
Yes. Now stop.
Whoa.
You're clear now.
Right. What was Roxy saying? Speak now, Roxy, while we got the opening.
Yes, the music has its force, and the contrast with when you hear other types of music and then you hear Zappa, you feel the power.
Yes. How did he get that power? You know, maybe he's got better amplification, better technology, but it's just undeniable. And how's he getting it?
Well, it's more complex music at all levels. There's a lot of things going on.
You see how they couldn't play that on pop radio? It would disrupt people's lives too much.
Yes.
You can't drive along in the car, you know, in a traffic jam, driving to work, and have fucking like that shit blasting at you. You're going to switch the station. So they actually maybe didn't care about his political views. They censored him because his music was too powerful and disrupted the mood of the radio station. They'd lose listeners. Not because it was bad music, it was just too powerful, too distracting.
Yeah. But you can tell that music was made for the technology we have now because the sound is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable to hear it. It's like you said, a spaceship from the first note.
I'm actually thinking that the drops are making... I was hearing... These things were new. I, never heard these things before. I've played them before, but... A little break there. Zappa's attacking us.
It's like you're in that lab of the...
Yeah, Uncle Beat's lab. Studebaker Hawk's lab, man.
But you know what it sounds like, Bob? It sounds just like what you described in that outline of the band of 5,000 guitars or whatever. That's what it sounds like. I mean, I'm wondering how many piece band was that made that cut? Because it sounds huge. I mean, really huge.
Let's see which album that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'll drop again. Hello?
Oh. Wow.
Up.
Just say the band.
Yes.
Grand Masu.
Mediocrity doesn't give up. Can you hear me?
Yes. I hear you, Roxana.
Is there anybody out there?
It says on Wiki that Eat That Question only has
what were you
7
reading?
musicians. What was I reading? I was reading William Irvin Thompson, a guy that off of Dupes, something Bob posted years ago. It's called Avatar, When Technology Displaces Culture, by William Irvin Thompson.
And he's quoting McLuhan?
Yes, that's amazing. That's what I highlighted. I started out with that. Yeah, he's quoting McLuhan. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Bob said last week that William Irvin Thompson is a McLuhanite, and he's now, from Bob reading him, he's becoming the most important McLuhanite because due to his connection with Bob and Bob's chart, because he really outlines a lot of predicting ion. A lot. It's amazing, just what we've covered in the last 2 weeks. But Bob did some really interesting classes on what youth of William Irvin Thompson. It's amazing. I have no idea a lot of this.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brax back.
Yeah. Oh, no, Tom. It's always.
Bob, you've got a headset cable going out. That's what's making all the noise, and every now and then it goes out completely and we lose you. If you can change headsets, it'll go away.
Change
Yeah, your microphone or whatever you use.
Okay. Yes. Carolyn.
Hey, Bob.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Clear now.
Okay, just a second.
Well, another thing I see a lot in all these buildings is the columns. And in some of the castles, they use the Doric on the first floor and the Ionic on the second, and the Corinthian also may be used, for example, in the chapels. And the columns, because in the Temple of Solomon, they were so important, and they represent the connection between the heaven and earth and the support. And we see the capital of the Corinthian column in the bottle.
Yes.
So those are the elements that made me have this interest on the Masons and trying to understand their role and all these things we are retrieving in these castles, because there is really a lot of information, a lot of very enigmatic things, and I'm just like trying to understand what is all this about.
Okay, you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Bill was right. My headset was broken, was screwed up. So I just put on Carolyn's headset, and it's all clear again. So I'm sorry we screwed up that. A couple of points you were saying. Yeah, I agree with what you said, Bert. Rereading Thompson, he already was the best New Ager because he used McLuhan, but now he's got this other ionic thing. He becomes the most important McLuhanite, and I got Roxy to go on a new McLuhan forum group. I had not heard of them, been around for a year or two. And did you read that they said, what are you saying, Bob? Thompson is influenced by McLuhan. Did you see that? Did you read it, Roxy? They got mad at me. Or one or two of them.
Well,
that means they don't even read.
And that's completely anti-McLuhan.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's a long story what I did on there. If you're interested, Bert, I can give you the site and you can join it. There's some good scholars, sort of good scholars on there. But back to this Zappa thing. Okay, I want to just play, let's see, play the beginning of Eat That Question, the 6-minute thing. Hear that. Why can't I hear it? What am I doing wrong? Gotta bring the volume up, maybe. Yeah, maybe that would help. You hear that?
No. There's a distant echo. We hear a distant echo, but no music.
Okay, so I got to switch it over. Maybe that's the issue. Okay, bring it up here. I'm just going to play a bit of it. It didn't seem to have the shark attack, so I'll do the other one. No, it's not working. Oh, maybe I've got that stupid sound. So many buttons here. Okay, that one.
It feels like a lot of noise.
Yeah,
sounds like Stockhausen.
I can't get it through because it makes too much noise and some button is screwed up. Maybe the radio audience is hearing it though. The heck with it. Forget that. We're going to have to end at the top of the hour. It's too screwed up here. No, it isn't. I've got it fixed, didn't I? I can't play the music, so forget that. Let me get on to an article. Unless you were saying something about why you're in these architectures, Roxy.
Yes.
Yes, the elements that some are used a lot by the Masons, like the column.
Yes.
That you also have the Corinthian column in the bottle, and one may wonder, why do you have this column? And actually, the columns are very important in the Solomon Temple.
And it's like, hey, Roxy, Carol and I and Sheila knew nothing. We just followed Ion's orders. Ion designed that. Ion.
Of the Temple of Solomon.
Yeah.
Like the columns, for example.
Yeah.
But also the pyramids are like the base of the composition of different ornamentations. And you can see that if you turn the bottle upside down, you see this crowned head and the flower of leaves and the pyramid and the angels. It's like also like the altar of the Temple of Solomon with the cherubims. Like a type of synthesis or that reminds you of these things. Like there is a lot of information there that, and that's the thing with the code breakers, and that was the type of education these Masons got. They learn how to read the ornamentation, for example, see more in the proportions and all these different levels of meaning. And for example, as Frank I built Chambord, St. Peter's was also built, and they have another type of column, which is the Solomonic order, which is like the spiral column they have in the altar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they were all like trying to retrieve, for example, Chambord is supposed to be the New Jerusalem.
Wow.
And they just left it like almost finished, but it's not finished. Like you have to, but they knew what they had to do is done. Now the next level or the pyramidion, the end, is what comes with the completion, I suppose.
Yes.
But all these things are there. And I show Bob there is another castle in a place called Aion.
Really? Is it in Greece?
Yes, it's a region of France. No, in France. It's called Aion, and there are many smaller castles that are not known, but one is like a pentagon. And the stairs in the center are the same like in Chambord, and there is on top an opening, and it's built on top of water. So the light coming up creates like a cylinder of light, and it's a very nice thing with the water on the bottom. And each level of that castle is very complex, and the people say you can get lost there because you don't know exactly where you are. It's very hard to orientate yourself.
Oh, wow.
And so there are all these very enigmatic places, and one wonders, what is all this? These things exist, and they are there.
Well,
and it's all this tradition of the builders, of the programmers of the environment.
That's right. But we can ask Ion.
Yes.
We do have a way of answering. We can believe him as much as you believe anybody else.
You know that you were working with Moses, and you were actually telling Moses what to do.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And the Masons were the people doing the handwork, but the planning, like this Pentagon castle, also nobody knows who was the architect, and the architect was Bob and Moses, or Leonardo, or all of them. I don't know.
Well, as I'm thinking about it, I can get a big, crazy notion of myself. If evoking iron is the original alchemy, then maybe for 5,000 years, I have been doing stuff like getting myself ahead of myself and blocking out my awareness of being Ophanel or something. I might have been doing a lot of stuff to myself. That's why I won't tell me what's going on. And if, on the thread, I'm not saying, I don't know if I believe it. I don't have any direct experience that I'm Ophanel or anything. But if iron is this phenomenal, then you have to be somebody pretty unique to trigger this off, and did it without any fucking knowledge of anything. That's what's fucking crazy.
Yes, the thing is, you cannot turn it off. It's like, for example, I have dreams, or I'm taking a break, and these things keep on appearing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what is this?
It's like you're in the frequency. You're possessed by it. And as Ian used to say, a lot of his simple statements 3-4 years ago have real richer meaning now. He says, once you wake up or get aware or something, you can't go back. You can't go back to a pre-ionic situation, Roxy. I apologize for that. I didn't know I'd ruined your life like that. I didn't know I'd ruined millions of people's lives.
One has to expand in the mind and just be open to things that is hard for a rational mind to understand. Like, there is no time. And Moses was going from the future a little bit.
He's all over the place.
Then they did all these castles for a reason.
Well, you know,
now we are discovering them.
Right. Now, I was going to say that as we give more of these powerful testimonials in the RNA drops, I can see why a neophyte, a person coming into our scene, it's like they got to start saying, well, this is like LSD or ayahuasca. This is going to do something to me. I can see why some people would run away from the RNA drops, just be intimidated. And then even hearing ion, they're saying, I'm going to be mutated. I got to get away from this place. You know what I mean? We could be building up more and more resistance in some people. I mean, other people are going to come and they can't stop and they'll get involved. But there could be a new intimidation factor going on as ion keeps performing.
I wanted to share with Carolyn the Renew testimony that I had. I went to the dentist, and I've had most of my allopathic dealings with dentistry, not so much the doctors. I left doctors long ago when I got out of football. But I've had this tooth that when I first got to Switzerland, they put a crown on it, and it's been a tooth that's been a problem for 30 years. And when I went to the dentist's office in October, I started what it is. Before I went to the dentist in October, I started putting Renew right on the crown around the edge because it was looking kind of weird and the skin was going down. So when I went to the dentist's office, they freaked out and said they're going to have to pull the tooth and create an implant because my blood may get infected and it'll, kill, give you that death and destruction thing. Your blood will be poisoned and it'll have an infection and so let me schedule a appointment so we can take care of the tooth. So I walked out of the office and I sent the dentist an email and said, look, I used some Chinese medicine knowledge. I said, look, it's wintertime. It's not good to pull a tooth because the tooth is related to the bones, and the bones are weak in the winter due to the kidneys, so we'll see what happens in spring. So right after I did that, I just really started diligently putting a swab of RNA of Renew around my gum. And sometimes, because I have a hole, I do have some bone loss, so I did put some Renew into the tooth. And I've been doing it since October. So then Thursday, I had my dentist appointment. And I could tell that the hygienist, when she was looking at my tooth, that she was prepared because she had my x-rays up on her little computer screen and everything. And I just sat calmly in the chair, and she went directly to the tooth. And the tooth was good.
Wow. Like she knew that was the real problem, so she knew to go there to see how bad it was.
Right. But you should, and then what's funny is that since I've been on RNA drops, when I do get my teeth clean, it gets less and less time. And this time, which was really funny, is I think when I first got on RNA drops, it would take 50 minutes and then, 45. But this time, which supposedly, I guess she thought that she would find something, it only took 40 minutes. But I could tell she kept looking, you could tell she went one round at the bottom, another round at the top, and then she went back and looked at the tooth again and started picking around and everything. And then she got and said, okay, we're finished. And it really looks good, but if your tooth hurts, please call right away because you're in danger.
What took 40 minutes? What are you talking about? What takes 40 minutes?
When they clean your teeth and they try to pick out
it takes less time to clean your teeth.
It takes less time this time. Yes, it takes less time. And this time it was 40 minutes, but she actually could have been less because she kept trying to look for something with the tooth, but she couldn't find anything. And it's a crown tooth.
So you're saying that the Renew rebuilt the enamel and stuff like that?
It's the skin, because what it is, it's a crown but you see some of the old tooth underneath the crown, and that's when I started putting the RNA, the Renew on the crown, on the tooth and the skin. And when I looked at it before I went to the dentist office, I was like, wow, the skin is up around the tooth where you barely see the other, you can barely see the old tooth. You can just see the crown now.
Yeah, you saw the improvement before you went.
Yes. And it was just so funny, her eye. That was her eyes, because the dentist could, there's no way that you can create and heal this tooth. You're going to have to pull it and do implants. And I'm like,
yeah, gums don't grow back up.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah. Wow. And now you can put Renew in your mouth. It's not a problem.
Well, I've been doing it, and I'm fine. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I've been doing.
That's pretty incredible. I remember dentists tell me, your gums have gone down a bit. They don't go back up. But yours went back up, grew back up, right?
Yes.
That is quite a testimony. Write that out. That's a good one.
Yes, I will. But it was so funny, her eyes, because, she saw something, but she had to rely on her training to tell me what she knew, but she couldn't believe what she saw.
Right. What do you think of that, Roxy?
Wow.
That's what those guys Leonardo were looking for, the magic substance to improve their teeth.
Yes, it's what I was talking about, that one has to expand in what one thought it's possible.
Right. So, you know what? I'm just going to address, so those that are listening, the Zappa fans, and we've been talking about Bob and Ion and how Zappa anticipated that. It sounds nutsy, but you just heard a testimony from one of our simpler products. The impossible is happening. That's what we're talking about, and that's what Frank was expressing. He was expressing impossible music. I think he even had that in one of his slogans, the word impossible. But he was anticipating the power of our products and our situation. So that's what we mean.
Well, it's the pushing beyond the limits of what one thinks is possible.
Yeah.
He was trying to do that with the music, and that's why he went to use the synclavier, because he said, here I can do more complex things that will take a long time for a musician to learn and practice.
Right.
And they won't get it right.
Hey, listen, we got 5 minutes. I want to read a couple of quotes here in this article. We can maybe do more next time. It says, for reasons known only to him, Frank Zappa decided to call his new ensemble the Grand Wazoo. See, nobody knew about this conspiracy stuff back then. So they didn't even know what he's talking about, and he's not telling them. And he says, the journalist says, for equally mysterious reasons, Zappa revealed the following about Wazoo. Quote, since the earliest days of the mother's invention, from about 1964 roughly, I have been interested in assembling some kind of electric orchestra capable of performing intricate compositions at the same sound intensity levels normally associated with other forms of pop music. So he wants to make the classical music as powerful as amplified rock. And we just did that. Just heard it. And then it says, there's an air of formality about the whole project, and formality is as foreign to Zappa as it is to Southern California, but these are unusual times. The search for newness is taking musicians out of their accustomed molds and casting them in unfamiliar settings. Jazzmen are discovering the financially rewarding world of rock, and conversely, some rockers are latching onto the creatively stimulating milieu of jazz. And this is an article in Downbeat magazine, the Jazz Bible. Zappa is one of the latter, and to many of his startled fans, shifting into reverse, in other words, going from bizarre to straight, is the ultimate in put-on. They keep thinking Frank is putting them on. As Frank explained it, quote, to begin with, the Wazoo bears little resemblance to any previous form of rock and roll band. There are 20 musicians in it who mostly sit down and read music from an array of charming little fiber board stands. Nobody sings, nobody dances, they just play music. Remember, he's not going to do the 5,000 singers dancers, all right? Then the journalist says, that may be anathema to his fanatical rock followers. It may even turn his groupies into novitiates. But for the jazz-oriented, it signals a certain sense of orderliness. For a change, they're getting down to the music. And there are plenty of respected, paid-up members of local 47's jazz community to be found wazooing it. Among the trumpets, Malcolm McNabb and Sal Marquez. In the trombone section, Kenny Shorey, Glenn Ferris, Bruce Fowler. In the reeds, Jay Migliore, Charles Owens, Ray Reed, Mike Alcho, Dave Parlato is on electric bass, and Jim Gordon is on equally electric drums. For the most part, they're serious and dedicated, and Zappa is the first to admit it. Quote, very few of the Wazoo's members exhibit the normal pop musician's ability to function efficiently while garbed in fringes, feathers, or festoons. The concert presentation will be informal, reasonably straightforward, and non-theatrical. Those in the audience who make a fetish of close-range seats in order to scrutinize a group's soul squint grimace potential, you know, the singer squinting, the soul squint grimace potential, to see if they're really getting into it, may be disappointed to discover the Wazoo eyeball heavily oriented to the printed page and conductor's baton. The journalist says, incidentally, in the formal listing of sidemen, Zappa's instruments are guitar and white stick with cork handle. Those are his two instruments. And then it goes on, and, one can also find a contrabass sarrusophone among the amplified goodies in the Grand Wazoo, and that's something no jazz rock band should be without. Earl Dumler has the dubious distinction of making love to its double reed. In case you have forgotten what a sarrusophone is, it's a brass wind instrument about the size of a baritone sax that it can be found in some obscure symphonic scores doing the work usually assigned to the contrabassoon. Zappa regards Earl Dumler and his oddity as his, quote, one concession to overt showmanship. As Frank put it, with a face as straight as his baton, quote, it's possible for the first time to view a grown man with a mod haircut struggling against the forces of nature to extract accurate information from an amplified E-flat contrabass sarrusophone. End of quote. Charles Owens put it in more down-to-earth terms when talking about the tone it produces. Quote, sounds like an elephant playing soprano sax. So we're going to have some music, and so we're going to be back in 2 hours. So thanks for what we did. We got the Zappa second season on the road with a lot of technical bullshit, but the points were made anyways. The points were said.
So, is this the end?
Oh, just a minute.